bang, straight into the next one, no messing about. Oh, God. So yeah, I've just spoken a little bit about DMT. It's so intriguing. What I think, like I've felt like throughout my psychedelic trips is that I have been analysed, scanned, and tried to be. I've had help during these trips, and I'm going to expand a little bit more now. But what's been my whole, and I guess it still is now, it's this internal external thing. What is coming from you and what is coming from outside. It's like the more I feel like this is where people are getting lost, myself included. It's like regaining your personal sovereignty is the answer for sure, but how you align yourself with what belief is a big decision on how you behave in your life from now on, and what you intend to create with your energy and your aura and your expressions, and what sort of change you want, and leading by example, and just and so what I'm struggling with is, again, it's this whole consciousness thing. It's are we creating these visions, or are they being given to us? And people that have had breakthrough DMT trips have said there's absolutely no way that they were giving themselves that type of experience. And I've had psychedelic trips where I completely agree with that feeling. But at the same time, I've always had a no fear approach to psychedelics, in terms of knowing that a bad trip is a reflection of a bad mindset. And so I guess being traumatised for so long and slowly awakening and understanding little bits and pieces about your own psyche and what you're in control of, gives you a bit of confidence in your soul being good, and so you don't fear bad repercussions. But there's been parts of my trips that have been very, very uncomfortable, and the more I feel like I connect with my higher self, or my chakras are opening, or whatever's going on, whatever's happening now, the more the talk of dark entities or other entities even, in a sense that is scary if you think about it. So I feel like I'm just going to say this while I'm on a roll, because I think I'm just going off on tangents. I watched some guy's channel and he talks for ages as well. And what he does is he puts a contents page down so you can go to his ramblings and find the specific bits that interest you. So I might do that, but I don't even think that mine are as signed, sealed and delivered as his, that I don't think I'd be able to section it off. Fucking hell, stuff to work on. So yes, I've felt like I've been scanned by aliens. That's how I described it. I felt like my brain, that I could see from an outside perspective, what I interpreted as my brain, but what I visually saw as like some spaceship type thing, a metal, domey, technological area, which was divided into quarters, or maybe even more actually, but segments, some above and some below, and lots of different things were going on in these segments. And I interpreted that as a visualization of what was going on in my brain at that moment, or that's what was going on. And so I don't know if anyone else has had psychedelic trips. I would be very interested, because what has always been an experience of mine throughout my trips is what I felt like was the I felt like it was being understood by others as a not quite breakthrough or a not letting go type of experience, but to me it felt more like a lucid dream where you're aware of this state of consciousness, but if you're very, very if you concentrate a lot, and I use these different parts of my brain often, and I always have done. I've just never known what they were until now, but you can experience both, and so it's very difficult because I'm always trying to interpret what's going on during the trip. In a way, I'm trying to think too much instead of letting go, and I think that is the case. But I've also felt like it was very important for me to be lucid enough to remember these things that were going on, so that eventually I could write them down, or like today, speak about them. So yeah, I felt like my brain was being worked on. I could see lights and tubes and what looked like, to me, neurons firing through pathways. That's how I envisaged it. And what was going on at the time while I was being examined was, I felt like my soul, my body and my energies, everything from my intellect to my sexuality, was being tested and shown to the extreme of the good that emotion can feel like. So for example, I wrote down, and I looked for it earlier because it's so interesting. I'm going to have to find it and read it verbatim or something, how I'd written down the morning after one particular mushroom trip, which is this one where I felt I was being worked on. And yeah, so I felt like really turned on, like, and trapped in like a state of sexual arousal, fucking hell. Arousal, gosh, that's funny, isn't it? I couldn't remember that word. Yeah, for quite a while, and I felt like it was a big lesson for me to let go of my own insecurities and frigidity and unwillingness to open up with sex. And so things happened for me positively from then on, off the back of that. But I was shown during the trip how amazing it could feel, or I was led to be told that that's eventually what will happen. The power of orgasm, I think, was like a lesson in what that does. Another one, I mean, this has been a constant feel that I've had throughout my trips, is that I'm being tested on my soul, my heart, my emotions, and I'm always trying to show off silently during these trips to other entities that I'm full of love. So I'm trying to give them my heart, and it sort of comes out in a colour or an aura or a transmission, and it's these sort of very fast sort of back and forth experience with entities, which has been so interesting to me again. And I listened to Terence McKenna talk about UFO phenomena the other day, and it's very interesting, people's experience and interpretations of supernatural phenomena. That's something that's really intriguing me. Just listening to the song again. What else can I show you? I've just gone off subject, but this is the type of thing that I want to be talking about all the time, not just like rhesus negative blood, but potential differences. Maybe rhesus negative blood reacts differently to psychedelic compounds, I don't know, but it felt like home to me, a comfortable, familiar state that I'd been to 1,000 times, which I know is what a lot of people say because it's source where we're all from. but I felt a particular trust in the experience. And I've seen the benefits that it's had on not just myself but my partner as well, and just sort of like living proof and experiment of what these compounds can do in terms of opening up your mind to understand how to heal yourself. They're so powerful. They're so powerful. And all you guys that are already connected to Source, you'd be the perfect people to be guides for people taking psychedelics for the trips. I think that's something that I want to look into one day as well. I've got this name Roots in my head, and I've always wanted a tree house at the bottom of the garden, but an actual big studio one where I could have clients and they could come to my tree house Roots, and we'd chat about their life, and we'd use different ways to piece together what they're stuck and struggling with, and we'd use a ton of different ways to get their energies out, psychedelics including, and I'd talk them through it. And I really hope that comes true for me one day. I really hope I have a really fulfilling, busy life doing what my heart desires, which is just honouring myself and healing others. I think healing myself first to heal others, but yeah, I always feel like I shouldn't, the part of me that, there's always a part of me when I say something grand like that I think that is, it's just tough shit now. It's just, I've just got to own it. I don't think it is grandiose. It's a nice sort of ideal that I'm going to try and manifest one day. So I've got it out there on video now. So these are my little contracts to myself. That's why I'm doing these videos. Whoa. Right. Okay, I'll show you this painting. Why not, while I'm pimping myself out. And this was, again, done during a really intense period. A couple of months ago, it was just before Easter, and I had what potentially could have been, I think people call it the night of the dark soul, or the dark night of the soul or something, but basically just a fucking really tough night. And I'll try and explain mine now quickly if I can. But it was just before Easter, I remember, and I remember feeling like the world was going to end, something was going to happen, some sort of big thing was going to happen. And I didn't tell anybody that I felt like this, and it was Easter, I think it was on a weekend or something, and I felt this real sort of like strange, I think in reality I was in a weekend of what would have probably been described as psychosis, and maybe if I'd have been around people, although I wasn't displaying anything sort of, physically crazy. Internally, like I was connecting to some deep shit for a whole period of 2 weeks. But anyway, this night happened. I fell asleep. I'd got the flu. It was so bad. I was so poorly that whole day, and the kids, obviously they needed me, and you know what it's like if you've got kids, and they were so young, like they still are, it was 3 months ago, but the babies, and they need the mummy, and so they're up so early, so I'm there, feeling boiling hot, no, feeling cold. I was covered up I've got coats on, shivering, but knowing that I had to power through this day with as much love as I could for my kids. I didn't want my kids to see me in such a poorly state, because I'm never ill. I'm a sort of a plower on, and I don't seem to get poorly. So, it shocked me. I was super poorly, and I was not strong enough within my own self-worth and psyche to ask for help. So I struggled on, Anyway, the night came and I was in some sort of sleep paralysis, or just I was sweating. I felt like I was being I was in between realms. I was thrashing about, I was hallucinating, I was fighting for my life. I saw flashes of green light. I saw pop up from my TV. It makes my heart beat talking about this because it was so profound for me, and I really played it down because I didn't want to freak anybody out. I don't know if anybody, I know people from the UK will be familiar with a crystal maze, but if you're not, basically it's a crystal. I'm sure there's a name for it. I wanted to say dodecahedron, but I don't think that's right. But anyway, just a crystal. Green light flashed from over here, looked up, buff, a crystal popped out of thin air in front of my TV set, and for about 3 or 4 seconds stayed there, and then whoosh, back in. And it was not solid, but it wasn't translucent. It was much more of a form. So that was fucking weird. Straight after that night, I felt completely different, much more spiritually aligned, in tune. Synchronicities carried on, but after that night I felt pure love, and for a couple of weeks I was sort of untouchable, and then fear crept back in, and that sort of depleted for a while, and I really was having a real tough time for the last couple of months, until the last few weeks. And again, yeah, what happened to me in the last few weeks was I had this, and again it was all off the back of all this happening from this one night, from the psychedelics, to find that I had the urge to look up rhesus negative blood on YouTube. And yeah, and then bang, I'm in the rabbit hole, and here I am now. So I've gone on for 17 minutes again, and I don't even know what I'm just talking about myself, and I feel like I want to be sort of helping people. Let me have a look in here. I dreamed the other night about tunnel with faces in it. That's it. So, not last night, the night before. As I was getting to sleep, I was meditating, and I felt pulled into this altered state. Obviously, I don't take psychedelics on a daily basis, so this is just me. And it's just been switched on in the last few weeks. Wow, I mean, it's intense. So I felt like I was being pulled down a tunnel of smoky blackness, and at the end of the tunnel were forms, faces, entities. And prior to this dream, I'd watched a video about a guy who was interpreting his DMT trip, and he did a really nice job of interpreting it. I thought it was really nicely done, so I might try and find his video again, and I'll post it under the comments on this if anybody is interested. And I hope people are, because I don't just want to talk about rhesus negative blood, but I think there's sort of significances, and that's why the psychedelics led me to this rhesus inquiry. Shit, I've lost my thought train again. Fucking hell, I wish I could rewind. Time. So, yes, my dream, right, okay. So these entities, the video I watched where was, so the guy was interpreting his DMT trip, but he was saying it's either that it is completely, or it's sort of, there's a thing in our brains that changes energy and light into pictures, and we give the picture something that we already know, that as closely matches the feel of the energy as possible. And that was on my mind prior to me going to sleep, or must have been subconsciously, because as this was happening, I was aware of that thought of my own. I wish I wasn't sometimes, this is what I mean. And I was like, let go and you'll learn more, but I always feel like, no, actually no, like there's very good benefits of the lucidity of states. I don't think it's about getting out of your head on anything. I think it's about finding the balance between everything. I've never had high doses of anything. I think psychedelics have taken me off the substance abuse, definitely of alcohol. I'm still sort of stuck on the cigarettes at the minute, and I use weed as a tool. I feel like I've got my own sort of signature with the weed as well, and I'm aware of when that starts to go bad, and I'm aware of when that starts to go bad for other people as well. It's a very personal thing, I think, someone's relationship with plants. But because it's illegal, and because it's illegal, I'll pretend that I didn't mean anything I've just said. It was all just a story, and I'll put it under comedy. Yeah. Substances are kept away. Oh God, look at me, just fucking hell. This shows you how long I've not spoken my truth for, because I could sit here for hours, and I think I bloody might do. Fuck it, why not? And I don't want to do anything when the kids get back, you see, because they're so amazing. I like to spend every moment being as present with them as possible, because that's where I'm learning the actual work, is looking into my kids' eyes and understanding when they connect with me on a soul level, on a higher level. The things they're saying to me at the minute is beautiful and enlightening, and at times too thought-provoking. It can be fearful sometimes. It's like, whoa. Yeah. Bless them. But so when they come back, I don't want to be doing videos, I don't want to be looking on YouTube, I don't want to be commenting on anything either, because I've noticed that how I used to be with Facebook, automatically scrolling and being consumed, is how I've become with YouTube. So when the kids are around, my phone is going away. That's something that I've always written down on psychedelic trips. Fucking, yeah, put your phones down, everybody. The dreams, right, okay, so this was in my mind about, are we interpreting this or not? So how I felt like what was going on was that because I was weak and open and halfway between wake and sleep and a little bit vulnerable because of what had happened during that day, I was an open source for whatever energy had been lingering around in the vicinity, potentially in the universe, that could or wanted to use my vessel at that time to invoke anything it wanted to do in me. And again, that sentence alone could still mean that I am doing this to myself, that I am creating these tests, these dreams, everything. It's just, it doesn't feel like that at the moment, which is why, again, it's so intriguing, and why you look more mental unfortunately, because there's not enough research done yet. Anyway, so how I felt or saw it or whatever was that if I mastered my heart, my fear and my love, and I balanced that right, and I understood what was going on, and I understood that the most important thing was to not back down, because I have no reason to back down. I am a good person, a good soul. I am a good mother, and I'm a good person. And I've not always been a good person, but I've always gone through my life with integrity. I've held on to my integrity. As hard as that's been, and sometimes I've let myself down and I've allowed my aura to create pain for others. But I'm a good person, and so fucking hell. Yeah, I was trying to change what I felt like. Again, this is why I think what you're doing, because I can't, how I interpret in language is quite flourishy, airy-fairy visually. So it's like I want to say I saw some sort of devilish looking scary entity face, which to me invoked fear. My conscious lucid normal state said to my higher state, don't panic, this is what's going on. That's scary, you don't like it, you can change it. So I was thinking to myself, turn it into an angel, turn it into an angel. And the form shifted. It's a bit like when you're watching clouds and you can see a rabbit, and then the next minute you can see a dragon, the next minute you can see a horse. It's that. It's not clear visuals, but it's sort of picking out the form of energy. So it turned into something less frightening, but it wasn't an angel, and how I described it was more like a toy soldier or a know-me type thing. It wasn't an angel, it wasn't what I wanted, but it was more childlike and less threatening than the first thing. So I think I quickly calmed myself down and I fell into a deep sleep. Had some crazy fucking dreams as usual. But when I woke up, I was reflecting on this, and how I vocalized it was that, yeah, I felt like I was an open vessel. The resonance of negativity and fear from whatever situations had been around that day, that year, whatever, just you know, the darker stuff, which I feel like I'm starting to see, like literally seeing the sky like thin sort of patches of dark energy. It's strange. But yeah, so and the more love and the less fear I felt, the more the tunnel it was like a swirly, like tornado, the more the twirly tunnel took the faces away from me. They weren't coming towards, I wasn't being sucked in anymore, I was coming out, they were fading. So it was like in a tunnel, nasty face, understand what's going on, think of nicer image pops up, that disappears, I go to sleep. So what this all means, I don't know, but to me, I'm interpreting it from a physical reality as just little tests and higher knowings that are testing you of your mental ability. My dad used to say to me, I'm training you to be a Jedi, and I feel like as much hurt as I feel that he's caused me, I'm acknowledging benefits to his ways in some respects. I'll leave it there. I'm talking shit and I'm going to carry on talking forever. Look at this little picture that I drew earlier. Never give up, it says. So I'm not going to.